We'd have 2,000 to 3,000 job openings here, and more come on the scene every day.
2,000 to 3,000?
2,000 to 3,000.
Safe to say, if you're able-bodied, motivated, and willing to move, you show up, you get hired?
If you can turn a wrench, if you can drive a truck, you can make $80,000 or $100,000 a year.
This is the part where we are the most exposed. It's open land all around us.
You were not invited to Syria. You had to sneak in standing up through a barbed wire fence. You were terribly exposed.
We crossed in during the day, which was not the original plan, and we had to stay in hiding, like the activists themselves, who are also being hunted by the Syrian authorities.
I don't want to say anything loud. Look at all these babies. Oh, they're so adorable.
If it was a nursery anywhere else, it would be just cute.
Right.
But in this case, it's also politics and immigration and social policy.
And the babies are beautiful, but they are here for one purpose, to become U.S. citizens.
You may have snuck into Syria. I think tonight I have the harder job. Jon Stewart's going to be sitting on that couch later. This is Rock Center with correspondents Harry Smith, Kate Snow, Ted Koppel, Richard Engel, Natalie Morales, Ann Curry, Matt Lauer, Dr. Nancy Snyderman, Meredith Vieira, and the worldwide resources of NBC News. And good evening from Studio 3B in Rockefeller Center, or Rock Center for short, as we begin a new broadcast in this studio that has already housed a lot of television history over the years. And tonight we hope to add another chapter. You will see all the reporting of all our correspondents and contributors over the coming weeks and months. And as we get underway here tonight, there are protesters spending yet another night outdoors here in New York and in the cold in dozens of other U.S. cities. Their rallying cry has been, there's nothing for them in this economy. And for a lot of people, that means jobs. Well, tonight we have something extraordinary to show you. We're going to take you to the place where the jobs are, the one place in this country where, if you're willing to work and willing to move, there is a job waiting for you. They're hiring so many people so quickly, it feels like a different planet there. Tonight, Harry Smith starts us off with the story of a boom town that bucks the national trend.
Western North Dakota, where the Big Sky country really begins. A land of austere beauty, lush with amber waves of grain. And for the last few decades, a place of dwindling population and few opportunities. Until now. It's an oil boom, the likes of which have not been seen in the United States for nearly half a century. A boom so big, it's gushing jobs by the thousands.
At the heart of this boom is Williston, North Dakota. It's a confluence of trucks and noise and dust and bustle. It's a town racing to keep up with the influx of jobs and people.
The trucks rumble through like modern buffalo, a stampede that can't be stopped. Starting salary for truck drivers, $80,000 a year. You can make $15 an hour at Taco John's. In town or in the oil field, if you're willing to work, the money is here.
You know, there's opportunity here, and that's what we all need, is an opportunity.
Longtime Mayor Ward Kozer says Williston's fast becoming host to job seekers from all 50 states. In just 5 years, its population has nearly doubled to 23,000.
We'd have 2,000 to 3,000 job openings here, and more come on the scene every day.
2,000 to 3,000?
2,000 to 3,000. A lot of jobs get filled every day, but it's like for every job you fill, another job and a half opens up.
Let's all do this together. 18 minus 8. Let's count backwards.
One of those jobs went to Grace Krugman from Colorado. Until August, Krugman was a laid-off school teacher looking for work for more than a year.
I didn't think I'd ever teach again.
When she applied for a job at the now exploding Williston school system, the school basically said, "When can you start?"
What was the feeling when they called up and they said, yes, we have a job for you?
I was so excited. It was like, I don't know how to explain it. I felt like maybe I am worth something again.
Her husband Miles was employed back in Colorado, but his work was slowing down. When they got to North Dakota, the licensed electrician felt like he had won the lottery.
I called 4 companies and I received 4 offers inside of 2 hours.
This has got to be the only place in America that's like this.
Yeah, it just feels like a whole different part of the world. It's the only place in America can be like this right now.
If what Williston's got is jobs, what it doesn't have is housing.
So this is home sweet home?
This is home sweet home.
For now, the Krugmans are making do with a single bedroom in the basement belonging to the high school geometry teacher.
We're fortunate. We're very fortunate.
Oh, you feel lucky to have it?
Yes, we do. Yeah, it's nice that there's people living in their cars and in the campers in Walmart.
I keep my clean clothes that I wash over on this side, and these are my dirty clothes.
If John Steinbeck were alive, he would be writing about men like George Green, Phil Hazelberg, and Patrick Parker.
One of my goals is to make my daughters proud of me. I want to make them proud. Because I worked a good job for 10 years, and then for it to go away, it just, sorry, it just gets to me a little bit.
Patrick hitchhiked all the way from California. Phil got here in his beat-up van from Wisconsin, and George scraped up enough money to buy a bus ticket from Florida. At night, he sleeps in his friend's truck.
I always have my toothbrush, toothpaste, and razor that I shave and clean up at Walmart in the morning. And this is home.
Each man willing to cross the country to regain something he'd lost.
How soon do you need to get a job?
Tomorrow. I got $12 left.
In your pocket?
Yes, sir. No bank account.
Would it be too far-fetched to say that desperation brought you here?
This last couple of years, I've been laid off, and the unemployment exhausted on me. And I'm turning wrenches part-time for family and friends, and that's not cutting the bills. So, yeah, desperation.
Ditto. I mean, just want to have a decent life, that's all.
For those who've come to Williston with little cash and looking for a fresh start, they might be surprised to find out how much they have in common with the man who may be most responsible for this boom, Harold Ham. Ham is the son of sharecroppers. His company, Continental Resources, has more drilling rigs in operation than anyone else in the field, known as the Bakken Formation. Ham is now a billionaire several times over.
Our company's calculation that we did last year for this Bakken field up here in both North Dakota and Montana was 24 billion barrels.
24 billion barrels.
24 billion.
Where does that fit in versus, say, the Gulf of Mexico or the North Slope of Alaska?
Well, Prudhoe Bay, you know, the numbers I've seen up there are 13 to 14 billion barrels. So this would be the largest field by far.
Is this as big as anything that's ever been found in North America?
It's bigger.
It's hard to comprehend just how big this oil field really is. Imagine an area the size of Massachusetts, Connecticut, and Rhode Island combined. And when all the drilling is done in a decade or two, there'll be as many as 50,000 wells out here just like these.
The oil has always been here. It's just been too hard to get out of the ground. Drilling techniques developed in the last few years changed that big time. 99.5% of all wells drilled in the Bakken last year produced oil. Oil here is just that abundant.
You know, 30,000 jobs up here have been created. 18,000 jobs we're estimating unfilled.
That's how many you think are unfilled right now?
Unfilled. I have one friend of mine up here that's looking for 500 truck drivers right now.
Help Wanted doesn't even begin to describe it. The Williston Hospital is undergoing a $25 million expansion with 60 job openings. Even the city is hiring, from clerks to cops. Then there's the housing boom.
Yeah, it's on 1.25 acres.
For our newlyweds, Grace and Miles Krugman, they just put money down on a modular home and hope to move in by Christmas.
Do you guys feel like pioneers a little bit?
A little bit. We are definitely in on the very beginning of this.
As for the men we met in the parking lot at Walmart, Phil found work as a mechanic, Patrick as a truck driver, and George a job as an entry-level pump operator in the oil fields. He'll be making 5 times as much money as he did back in Orlando.
If there was another guy named George, who is exactly the same situation you were in, what would you tell that George?
I'd tell him to step out in faith, and because it's here. This is opportunity in Williston, North Dakota.
I'm hearing this, and the numbers don't sink in. He's got 500 openings for truck drivers now, and they're 18,000 positions behind. So the question I was asking earlier, it is true, if you're able-bodied, willing to move, willing to live in some sparse conditions, there's a job for you in North Dakota.
No question. What a lot of guys have done, they've set up what they call man camps, and they're prefab housing, sort of like you would see in Iraq or Afghanistan that the military uses. And so there may be as many as 10,000 guys living in these man camps throughout the oil patch.
So a man camp has to sound like a really good idea to you. I can't help but notice you brought me something.
This is a piece of the Bakken Formation, and I want you to smell it.
Oh,
this
great.
is the stuff that's 2 miles down.
That smells like oil.
It is. And they frack it, so they pour water into this at a high pressure, and the oil just comes oozing out.
By the way, if you're going to bring me rocks from business trips, I hope we send you out to cover a gold mine one of these days.
Something that could work like
that's
that.
That's
something
a
for the little lady
piece
back
of rock.
Yeah,
but I'm telling you, the discovery of this rock and the oil in it may save the economy in the Upper Plains.
Without question, and is a game changer for U.S. energy interests, and the fact that there's 24 billion barrels up there, they think it could be even more.
Harry Smith, thank you, pal. We're underway. Appreciate it.
Good to be with you.
When we come back, Richard Engel has now gone where most Western journalists cannot go and are prevented from going tonight, his trip into Syria. And later, the man who tonight has bravely ventured to where we make the real news every day, Jon Stewart, here in the studio with us tonight. As the Arab Spring we witness quickly turns into winter, the Middle East is littered with deposed dictators, dead and alive. Now all eyes are on Syria and President Assad, who remains defiant and in power for now. He has killed thousands trying to crush the rebellion, and he's tried mightily hard to hide the killing and the torture by keeping Western journalists out of there. But our own chief foreign correspondent, Richard Engel, got in at great risk to tell the story of the ongoing revolution inside Syria.
It's the Arab Spring's most stubborn revolution. And it's kept alive by graphic videos like these, recorded in secret in Syria. The Syrian regime has kept most foreign journalists out, but it can't keep the videos in. We set out to find out why by going into Syria. We contact smugglers in southern Turkey. Usually, they traffic cigarettes across the border into Syria. This time, we will be their cargo. Suspecting we may be police, they swap us day and night from car to car to gauge how we react.
Not surprisingly, the smugglers are very, very cautious, but finally they do seem convinced we are who we say we are and haven't been followed.
The group takes us to a safe house on the Turkish side of the border. We wait here for the moment to cross into Syria. We're told we'll go at night and wait 3 days. But when we think we're driving to yet another safe house,
are we crossing now?
They suddenly drop us off on the side of the road.
Go.
And tell us that this field is the way in. It's 3 in the afternoon, broad daylight.
I didn't expect we'd be crossing during the day.
So, without visas, without permission, we start to cross into Syria. The border runs right through these fields. We pause frequently as our guide, a smuggler, calls spotters to learn if watchtowers are occupied and for the location of armed Syrian border guards. Next, we must leave the relative protection of the tall grass and run through an open field.
Come on.
Once we cross the barbed wire fence, we're inside Syria. The stakes are now much higher. If we're caught as Americans, we'll likely be accused of spying.
This is the part where we are the most exposed. It's open land all around us. We've stopped in this tiny little ditch, waiting for the sign that we can go forward.
A car is supposed to be waiting for us on the Syrian side.
We are now inside Syria,
and just waiting by the side of the road for our contact to pick us up.
It's a terrible wait. Obvious foreigners by a roadside. Finally, our contacts arrive. They take us to a safe house in a small Syrian city. It's a brothel in a basement apartment, full of beer bottles, mattresses, and a mirrored bed. Home for the next 3 days. The uprising began last March in the southern city of Dera. There, a group of students was jailed, some as young as 11, for writing "The people want to topple the regime" on a wall of their school. But when one of the boys was eventually released, he looked like this. Witnesses say security forces branded his face with hot knives. Protests erupted, first in the student's hometown, and then nationwide. President Bashar al-Assad responded with tanks, troops firing on protesters, and mass arrests. In our Syrian safe house, I speak with Jon Stewart, a human rights lawyer. He lives in hiding and asks we not show his face. He says, "I'd like to say to the American people, the same way you like freedom and democracy and to live in security, we are not different. We are human beings." We drive to a nearby apartment to meet more activists, moving quickly.
He's under some security up ahead as well.
To avoid being seen. A law student tells me many female demonstrators are raped by security forces. A journalism student shows me the laptop he uses to transmit videos. He works with a team of 10 other videographers who record demonstrations with cameras hidden in their clothing. And they are always aware that their videos could be used against them. He says, "We deliberately film crowds from a distance so individuals can't be recognized or arrested." Activists say they also use encryption software provided by the U.S. State Department that prevents the Syrian government from tracking the video's source. After the student sends his videos, he immediately erases the hard drive. We leave Syria, back through the fields, and return to Turkey.
Go, just go.
In Istanbul, the Ottoman capital on the Bosphorus, we meet Omar al-Muqdad. He's the other half of the opposition. He distributes the videos recorded in Syria to the world. The 31-year-old began opposing the Syrian government while he was still in college. Al-Muqdad says he founded 3 unlicensed newspapers in Damascus. All were shut down by the government.
We didn't make any crimes. We're just trying to follow our freedom.
He says he was arrested 7 times. In prison, Al-Muqdad says the guards told him if he stopped writing, they'd go easy on him.
And they said, will you continue writing this nonsense? I say, if I see something wrong, I will write about it. I will not be silent. Then they say in cold-blooded way, okay, cool. We will help you to stop writing. They put my hand on the table and they broke it.
They said, we'll help you stop writing. Smash.
And they broke my hand.
Since fleeing Syria last spring, Al-Muqdad has helped post more than 2,500 videos.
Why did Tunisia fall? Egypt fell. Gaddafi's regime fell. But Syria hasn't. Why not?
Because we have a problem with the army. The army is still under their control. 41 years, they put all the country under their control.
The Syrian government declined to speak to us, but claims the demonstrators are armed gangs and terrorists who have killed hundreds of Syrian security forces.
How do you see this developing?
The people are determined to take the regime out.
And their most powerful weapons are laptops and cell phones.
We're always happy to see you back. You were briefly insanely exposed during this story. Back up one little thing to this State Department software. How does that happen?
Yeah, the State Department helps these activists communicate without being detected by the Syrian government. About 200 activists have been killed for transmitting videos, and this is part of the State Department's initiative to give them some degree of protection. The U.S. has said there will be no military intervention, nothing like what happened in Libya, but they're helping in ways they can.
Hard to believe. February of this year, you and I are walking through Tahrir Square. And, you know, you're looking at Cairo, a city where you moved as a young college graduate to learn Arabic. Mubarak gone, Gaddafi gone, Assad very nervous.
Assad is very nervous, especially after Gaddafi was killed. The stakes are suddenly much higher. He saw that unless he wins and crushes this revolt, Assad could end up becoming killed. It has also encouraged the demonstrators because they saw that someone like Gaddafi himself could be brought down. So the stakes are higher for both sides.
Always good to see you, especially after this trip.
Thank
Richard Engel. When we come back after a break, once you've seen this next story, it's safe to say boarding an airplane won't feel the same way ever again. You have probably heard about the latest nightmare of passengers trapped on a plane during this past weekend's strange pre-Halloween snowstorm here in the East. JetBlue flight in Hartford. They were begging for a gate. They spent 7 hours parked. No food, no working toilets. Just a disaster over and above the usual pleasures of airline travel. They all wanted to get off the plane, and look where we are now. Our next story is about getting on the plane because someone has figured out a better way to accomplish the often nightmarish process that begins with the announcement that your flight is now boarding. There's no question flying is a joy. In fact, it's often hard to decide which aspect is the most pleasurable. The in-air comforts, the service, the food, just the glamour of it all. We should probably point out these pictures are from the era prior to the invention of middle seats and barefoot passengers sitting next to you enjoying a takeout onion salad. In all seriousness, whatever you think of flying, we can all agree that boarding an aircraft in the modern era is a nightmare. Just ask Ben Stiller.
Okay, where's the fire, huh?
You could not design a more chaotic, stressful, or physically taxing process than boarding an aircraft. And here's the business angle. Airlines only make money when the planes are loaded up and on the move, preferably in the air. Time is money, and for every moment a jet is idling at the ramp, the meter's running for the airline, and we all pay for it eventually.
May I ask you to hold this for me for 1 second?
All of this is why Dr. Jason Steffen set out to find a better way. He's not an airline guy, which may account for his fresh approach. He's a particle astrophysicist from Chicago who is as frustrated as the rest of us with the boarding process.
If you call a block of 5 rows, you'll have 30 passengers all trying to squeeze into those 5 rows, and they get in each other's way.
We would like to invite our customers seated in Zone 2.
The current methods of boarding an aircraft go by a few different trade names. First of all, there's Wilma, and in this case, Wilma stands for Window Middle Aisle.
Happy flying, everybody.
There's also random seating and block boarding. That's where Dr. Steffen comes in, and they already call his plan the Steffen method, and here it is.
So the first person in line would be in the back row in the window seat, and the next person would be 2 rows in front of me, and the next person is 2 rows in front of him, and so forth to the front of the airplane. Then you work your way from the window seats to the middle seats to the aisle seats.
Under the Steffen method, in plain English, on this test airplane, the people who tried it pretty much came on board, put their stuff away, and sat the hell down. Something else you should know, this airplane is inside a Hollywood soundstage named Air Hollywood. It's where Kristen Wiig most recently displayed the wondrous effects of Valium and alcohol in combination in Bridesmaids.
Party with the best of them.
And up in the front, that's not just any cockpit. This cockpit gave us the greatest and most famous cockpit scene in modern cinematic history.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
The idea of using Hollywood to test out a scientist theory came from this guy who's starting up a new TV show.
This versus that.
It's a show that tests better ways of doing established things. And so with this plane and these extras, the Stefan method was born. So the next time you hear boarding rows 15 or higher, or all the passengers holding a Zone 1 boarding card, remember Dr. Stefan. He's trying to make it better.
Thank you for your cooperation and welcome aboard.
There are always going to be exceptions during boarding. Families with children, folks with physical challenges, the fancy folks up front in first class, those groups are probably always going to be invited to board first. But it's what happens after that, the real boarding process, that could be so much better. And a word of warning tonight, they still haven't come up with a solution to annoying, jittering guy who's sitting in your row, won't leave the tray table or the arms of the seats alone.
What's the movie tonight?
More on him later. After the break, Kate Snow's investigation of an industry in this country called birth tourism. Welcome back. One of the bedrocks of American life, enshrined right there in the 14th Amendment, is that if you're born in this country, you're automatically a U.S. citizen. We've all seen stories about how that right can be abused, those so-called anchor babies born to poor mothers who sneak across the southern U.S. border. But you probably haven't heard so much about a very different group, wealthy women who come here from around the world just to give birth. Kate Snow got extraordinary access to parents who go to great lengths to ensure their child is born in the USA.
They look like mini mansions, luxury single-family homes lined up in this upscale suburb of Los Angeles, a quiet, sunny street. But spend some time in front of that pink stucco home with the white van out front, and there are clues that something unusual is going on here. Pregnant women, lots of them coming and going. Behind that suburban facade, a controversial business is operating. It's all perfectly legal, but the owners would rather stay under the radar. The same thing is happening across the country, on the outskirts of New York City, and we're about to get a tour of what few Americans have ever seen. The owner, Katie, agreed to show us around, but asked us not to use her last name.
All right, you show me the way. I don't know.
Okay, let me show you the baby room.
So all the babies are upstairs, right?
Yes, right now the baby is upstairs.
Oh my goodness.
Look
at all these babies. Yeah. I don't want to say anything loud. Look at all these babies.
He's big baby.
They're so adorable.
Yeah, she's younger baby.
Yeah, she's 4 days old, right?
Yes.
And his name is?
She's boy Lee.
So that says Lee right there?
Yes.
The wealthy Chinese parents of these babies have no intention of staying in the United States. They're here just to get American citizenship for their baby. As soon as they secure a U.S. birth certificate and passport for their newborn, they'll fly home to China, having spent as much as $30,000 on airfare, lodging, and medical expenses.
So where's his mom right now?
Shopping.
It is instant American citizenship, sold by an industry called birth tourism. There are no official numbers on how many women are doing this, but we discovered dozens of websites offering packages to expecting parents around the world. China, Eastern Europe, a Turkish website advertises a birth center in Miami. This Korean site features interviews with new moms.
I like it here. I feel at home.
To sell the American ideal, they use images of American women, children, and babies. One website offers a resort-like experience complete with a swimming pool and tennis courts. The online ads promise children born in the U.S. receive free public school education, easier acceptance to colleges like UCLA and Harvard, U.S. jobs with no need for a work visa. And one of the most controversial selling points, it's an easier way for the whole family to get green cards. which allow them to become legal U.S. residents once the child turns 21.
How you doing, Eric?
They should be shut down, and people should be put in jail.
Representative Phil Gingrey, a Republican from Georgia, is one of several members of Congress hoping to put an end to birth tourism.
They have gamed the system, and the misapplication of the 14th Amendment has allowed them to do that.
Gingrey has co-sponsored a bill that would reinterpret the 14th Amendment so that a baby has to have a parent who's a citizen or legal resident in order to be granted citizenship at birth.
The women that we've met are actually here completely legally. They actually have a visa. They're paying the hospital costs.
Right.
What's wrong with that?
What's wrong with it is they're taking advantage of our country, and they're really not giving anything in return. They have crunched the numbers, and they know that even though they've spent $30,000 in the long run, they're going to get a whole lot more out of that than they put into it.
People in this Southern California neighborhood don't like it either.
It's kind of strange to have all the pregnant women walking around.
Residents complained when they figured out this house was actually home to a thriving birth tourism business. The operators had ripped out walls to make a nursery and added bathrooms, so authorities shut it down for building and zoning code violations.
It's pretty amazing that they were able to get away with it for as long as they were able to get away with it.
The big picture.
But according to Angela Kelly of the Center for American Progress, opposing birth tourism is short-sighted.
Of the top 10 problems facing this country, this isn't even in the top 100.
Kelly argues one of those babies in that upstairs nursery could be the next great American.
I don't know if 20 years from now what we'll have is someone who was born in this country, left as an infant, came back, and then discovers a cure to cancer. I think we'll celebrate that moment, who that person is. And probably the thing that we'll celebrate the most is that they chose to come to this country.
And we don't have to wait a generation to feel the impact. These birth tourists are already doing their part for the American economy.
Polo? Is that polo?
Yeah.
During her 4-month stay in America, Mrs. Chow and her husband have been shopping a lot.
You bought the iPad here?
Yeah.
Katie's place is a full-service operation.
What time eat, what time...
After the women give birth at a nearby hospital, by the way, paying in cash, then it's Chinese tradition for a new mother to recuperate while a nurse cares for the baby.
Chinese culture has a lot to offer in terms of new mother's health.
Chefs cook a special diet for them. Every need is taken care of, down to the logistics of securing citizenship.
You take them to get all those papers. You take them to get the passport, to get the social security card.
We help them get information, even drive them to where they need to go to get the papers. So in the fastest possible time, they can get everything settled.
There is a downside to having an American baby. China doesn't recognize dual citizenship, and their children may be barred from public schools there. But the advantage is their kids can come back to the U.S. to go to school. Emmy, like all the moms we spoke with, dreams of sending her child back to America as soon as middle school.
The environment for a young child in America is much better.
If someone said to you, it's not fair that you get to come here, have your baby, and then automatically your baby, Emily, is an American citizen, that's not fair, what would you say?
He can grow up, then he can contribute to America.
Though Americans may worry our country is losing stature on the world stage, for these families, having an American baby is the ultimate status symbol.
Wow. And for the folks who grew up in this country when I did, our first memory of China, those newsreel pictures of everyone wearing gray, walking in masses, no one stood out, no one had wealth. So the idea of wealthy Chinese citizens, this is got to be brand new and got to be skyrocketing.
We think it's fairly brand new. It's interesting. It's hard to track how many people are actually doing this. They don't keep track of how many people come here just to have a baby. It is a small number, we know that, but we do think it's growing. You heard Katie say she's got more customers than she can handle right now.
In part because of this one-child policy in China.
That's a part of this, too, that we didn't get into. There is a one-child policy in China. It says you're not supposed to have more than one kid, and some people are coming to the U.S. to avoid that. We met a mother mother who was having her 4th daughter, and she came here to avoid the fines and potential jail time that she would have gotten if she had given birth in China.
Now, this American woman we saw interviewed thinks this is a good idea, potential cure for cancer someday. Where does that funding, where does this interest come from?
Well, she's from a think tank in Washington that is a liberal-leaning think tank. On the other side, you have Representative Gingrey and other members of Congress who say this has to be stopped. They don't care if it's only a small number. Their argument is any number of people taking advantage of our country and our Constitution and the 14th Amendment ought to be stopped.
Kate Snow, thank you. Fascinating story. What a sight walking into that room. And as Kate said, another powerful motive for some mothers from China is to get around that nation's one-child policy. We cover that part of the story in detail on our website, rockcenternbc.com. And when we come back here tonight, we've made it clear to him he can't use quite the same language he's used to using at this hour. Don't get comfortable at that desk, John. Jon Stewart here with us tonight. Years from now, when television historians retrace our first tentative steps here while preparing archival footage for the 25th anniversary broadcast of Rock Center, it will be noted that the first ever live in-studio guest was a huge part of nighttime cable entertainment back then as host of something called The Daily Show. We hope it is also noted that this husband and father of 2 children showed up on Halloween night of 2011. Ladies and gentlemen, Jon Stewart. And John, I note you've given me the new 4-pack of these are the nice bow tie cans.
I've been here an hour. What do you want from me?
So
I've been here an hour and the football game's been on.
That's where numbers 1 and 2 went.
Unfortunately.
And it's warm. I'm not saying, I'm just saying it's warm.
Wow.
No.
I can't believe you look a gift horse in the mouth like this.
So what do you think? Go ahead.
I think this is why we do test shows. I think, you know, when you get, when this thing's ready for air and you're ready to put this on and they put you at your real time slot, I think it's going to be bang zoom. It's going to be great. You know what I learned tonight? You and I together, the 2 of us, make up half of Richard Engel.
Really?
That guy's like a monster. He's out there.
I saw him in the green room with you.
He's unbelievable.
You were getting your man crush on.
He's unbelievable. He's in Syria in the back of a van. I have more security when I go to Epcot Center. This guy is amazing. And you and I sitting up here in whatever Nate Berkus designed for you.
These are Kevlar.
No, it's lovely, and I love. There's a lot of vases.
Don't you like? And I'm thinking fire pit down the road.
We can definitely make s'mores right after the show. It's really lovely.
This is Halloween night. You are a father of 2.
Yes.
Do you go out trick-or-treating like? Do you
no, I'm a 48-year-old man. I have enough candy.
Do you dress like underdog? What do you do? Do you dress up? Do you?
We usually go out. Nate always goes out as a Jedi, always either Obi-Wan or Anakin.
Which is sad because your son is 25 now, and
It's a little ugly, but he makes his mark. I will throw on a pirate hat or something along the lines of headgear.
So your usual.
I try and go easy. So my usual as well.
And your daughter?
Maggie will go out. This year she wanted to do black tights, black shirt, black lipstick, and blood on the face. She wanted to go with Scary Princess.
What is Halloween like for apartment living in New York for folks who are joining us from residential neighborhoods tonight? You just go door to door within your building? You go to the Colberts?
Well, you know how it is in New York City. We're one big happy family. I mean, the buildings, the doors are open and kids go up and down the floors. Wait, I'm sorry, that was New York in the 50s. We don't let our children go anywhere near the building. In New York City, trick-or-treating is you were escorted to whatever businesses are local in the area that are still open. You go to a bodega, if they don't have candy, you just take fruit or whatever it is they have there. Sometimes it can be, edamame. You don't know what you're going to get in New York.
It's a romantic occasion for you.
It's a romantic occasion. It's a beautiful thing. But you have children. You trick-or-treated. You live in the city.
They're both so much older.
Are we really doing this? We had a guy just talking about anchor babies, about Syria, about an emerging technology in North Korea.
That's
and
what
you and
my
I are going to talk fun-sized candy?
My children
is that what we're
are
doing?
anchor babies.
Is
really,
that true?
when you think about it. We're going to take a break, and we'll continue with Jon Stewart. That's my camera right over there. Yep. This I like. That I like.
Come on, man.
We're back with Jon Stewart. I really do want to thank you for coming.
Can I tell you something? I very much enjoyed it. You're doing a terrific job. I don't think people recognize this at home, and you're a very respected newsman, and
oh boy,
and I love what you do.
What's going to happen?
Can we just see something right here?
Yeah, I wear a long sock.
Okay,
that's enough.
No. Keep going.
No, you wear a short anklet product, apparently.
Needs vascular support.
You wear tennis anklets, and I wear. My vascular health is fantastic.
You got to see these babies.
I want to thank you for doing this, but as you put it before the show, I've done your show 19 times, so I think
19 times.
Let's
talk about. The quality of the broadcast has been terrific. I don't know why you want to end it on this note.
I want to talk about Occupy Wall Street.
Let's do that.
A lot of people were...
They're coming for you.
Surprised.
1%er.
You were tough on them. You've been tough on them. You've been exacting and taking them to task for all the mayhem, for the drum circles...
No.
All of that. No, I think...
We poke gentle fun at the rhythm percussion. That's all we do.
You don't think your stance on them has been tougher than most people would expect?
No. I don't think it's been tougher. How can it be? I have great empathy for, you know, it's interesting. The piece you did in North Dakota is the perfect complement to Occupy Wall Street.
How about that?
That is what the movement is. They want jobs, they want dignity, and then you see it coupled with Syria. There's a gestalt happening with your program tonight. There's a circle that's coming together. The people of North Dakota, the Occupy Wall Street, the people of Syria, their concerns, their hearts are all aligned very similarly. How can you not be moved by that? And while the percussion circle makes good fodder for fun, I have great respect for what they're trying to accomplish, or at least the frustration they are expressing.
Here's the other question. Are we entering kind of a permanent era of protest here, semi-permanent for the next couple of months, years? Where does this
When did we
end?
stop?
Where does it end? Oh, this wasn't our society.
No.
We were kind of cruising along at 50,000 feet. You didn't see public demonstrations like this.
You're a newsman. Go back to the Iraq War. There were 1 million people in the street trying to do the...
I'm talking about the economy. The Tea Party started disrupting town hall meetings on the subject of health care.
Because they're cutting off your circulation. Do you recall the Iraq War had protests?
I was there for all of it.
The Tea Party was a protest
movement. This is a new movement, is all I'm saying. Do you think this kind of movement, 99 versus 1, this specific economic movement is here for a good long while?
I think as long as people feel as though there has been no remedy or no action that gives them confidence, that gives them the ability. And look, it's all perspective. You know, you got guys down at Zuccotti Park with a tent, you know, roughing it with brown rice in a tent. I'm sure there's people maybe in, you know, sub-Saharan Africa who are like, ooh, tents.
Yeah.
Look at you, mister. You know, so it's all perspective. The guys in Syria have a very different issue that they're dealing with. But given that, until people have hope that there is some sense that their grievances are being addressed and addressed seriously, and that the government is becoming more agile to deal with it.
Thank you, man. With thanks to Jon Stewart, that's it for this first ever edition of Rock Center. You are nice to have done this. For all the good folks here who put this broadcast together, we'd like to thank you for being here with us. Please join me tomorrow evening for NBC Nightly News, and next Monday night for the second ever Rock Center. We're registered at Bed Bath & Beyond. Good night from New York. Your late local news
Tell me a story,
begins right now on this NBC station.
Nice job.